This is my second video update here from Limassol, Cyprus. And right in front of me is the beach. That's the beach area right there. Right over here, I've got a green phone booth. In London, you've got the iconic red phone booths. Well, in Cyprus, we've got green phone booths, at least in Limassol, Cyprus. We've got green phone booths. So we're going to go into the zoo. These are like this is like a park, gardens / zoo, and it's pretty much in the heart of the Limassol beach area. So we're going to go in and we're going to do a video. So let's talk about the news. We've got a clown world, of course, with Pelosi, because what clown world segment would be complete without talking about Pelosi and her trip to Kiev? What did I tell everybody in a video about a week ago? Traveling to Kiev is like the hottest ticket in town, and Pelosi was not alone. She was accompanied by some pretty interesting names from the U.S. government. So we'll do a clown world with Pelosi. Let's talk about, what else? Serbia. Let's talk about Annalena Baerbock, the foreign minister for Germany, and she's given the terms for the sanctions to be lifted against Russia. So she's telling Russia what it needs to do in order to have sanctions from Germany lifted. But first, let's talk about the big story, which is Azovstal. And we've got the first evacuations of civilians underway. I've heard that some military as well is kind of blending in and evacuating. As I'm doing this video right now, the reports are saying that around 40 civilians, 40 people have evacuated. I'm getting reports that there are around 30 buses that are waiting for the people to come out of the steel factory. And I don't know where the buses are going to take them, but I know that at least I think that the Red Cross is involved. A lot of this was kind of brokered when Guterres visited Putin, the UN Secretary General visited Putin in Moscow. And I just don't have any updates as far as the Azov fighters, what's going to happen with them. Moscow has given its terms: lay down your weapons, surrender, your lives will be spared. Kiev has signaled what they want the Azov guys stuck in the factory to do, and that is to continue to fight until their annihilation. They've given orders for these guys not to surrender. But I don't know what's going to happen to them. I don't know what's going on there. I don't have any information as to who else is down there. NATO guys, NATO commanders, American generals, a lot of French soldiers, mercenaries. Who knows? I don't know what's going to happen with them either. But Russia has said there's about 1,000 people in Azovstal. Civilians have come out and said that there's 70 families, or at least they've hinted at 70 families are in the steel factory. So we don't really have that much information. All we know is that we've got the first 40 civilians out, and that's a good thing. So we can definitely confirm that there were civilians. There were civilians in Azovstal. That's confirmed. Now, were these civilians hostages? Were they families of the soldiers? We don't know. We're going to find that out as well. Maybe as the day goes along, we'll get some more insight as to who these civilians were and why they were stuck in that in the steel factory for so long. So that's what's going on with Azovstal. Actually, let me read you. Let me pull up my phone here, and let me read you a statement from Zacharova. Let me park it right here and read you this statement from Zacharova. She put this up on her Telegram. So this is a rough translation, but this is what Zacharova said. She said that for 2 weeks, these as Kiev terrorists were holding civilians hostages at Azovstal, preventing them from leaving the location of the remnants of fighters. The Russian Ministry of Defense constantly announced humanitarian corridors. This is true. There have been humanitarian corridors pretty much 24/7 the last couple of weeks at Azovstal. And the corridors were guaranteeing life and assistance to those who left. The UN got involved, the Red Cross got involved. Now it is obvious to the whole world that it was the armed Ukrainian national formations that did not release the people there. That's an interesting statement. Remember, Zacharova, very important person, the foreign ministry spokesperson. She also said the West and Kiev cannot get out of this. What are the geniuses of Western PR doing in these conditions to prevent public opinion from doubting the mainstream for a second? They call the most promoted representative of everything in the world Angelina Jolie. It's so easy to sell it to the layman. The world-famous actress came under rocket fire in Ukraine. She is also a goodwill ambassador, although the UN hastened to disown its involvement in her Lviv vacation. She also visited Syrian refugees and African starving people. None of them, however, did not get any easier from this. But no one is interested. The main goal has been achieved. The attention of the world press has been diverted from Azovstal. Such attempts to interrupt the agenda are very easy to read. They are naive and primitive. The logical chain is as follows. Popularity should work for populism. That's the difference in mentality. The great Russian artist and public figures, Joseph Kobzon, negotiated with the terrorists on Dubrovka and took the children out of there. Not fake, but really risking his life. American stars, on the other hand, only know how to do PR. So that's a rough translation, but she made some very interesting points. And she made this Telegram post way after I did my morning video where I talked about Angelina Jolie and how the whole, air raid siren and all of it, to me, in my opinion, looked completely staged. Or at least it's one huge coincidence that she's walking the streets, she's got her bodyguards, and all of a sudden all of this goes down. The air raids go down. Anyway, that's just my opinion. Maybe it's real, maybe it's not, but I think Maria Zacharova is hinting at the fact that it was all staged and it was all done to divert attention away from what's really going on in Azovstal, the evacuation of civilians who, according to Maria Zacharova, were being held, let's go this way, were being held hostages. That's what she's hinting at. So she's kind of leaning towards the narrative that these people were not family members of the Azov guys. We'll find out. That was her Telegram post. What a Telegram post. She's telling you, she's when she puts stuff out there, man, look out. Look out. She does not mince her words at all. So let's see how the day progresses, and we'll find out exactly what's going on in Azovstal. Hopefully, we'll find out exactly what's going on in Azovstal, or a better thing to say is who is in Azovstal. Maybe we'll find out. Can you imagine if all of this ends, if everyone's evacuated, and we don't find out who was there? Can you imagine that? That would be something. It's possible. I would not rule that out. It's definitely possible that when all of this ends, whatever's down there, whoever's down there, we may never know. We may never know. So that's what's going on there. And let's shift gears and let's talk about Annalena Baerbock, the foreign minister of Germany, the Green Party member. She is a Green, and she is in a very important position as foreign minister with pretty much zero foreign ministry diplomacy experience. She's an ideologue. She hates Russia. She hates Russians. She believes that we should do away with gas and with oil and coal and everything that in her mind is destroying the utopia that the Greens are hoping to build. This utopia where equity rules above all else, and well, not above the globalist elites who will oversee everything, because that's how it works. There'll be a small little group of globalist Klaus Schwab elites who will oversee this utopia, but in the utopia, the WEF model, you will own nothing and be happy, and everything will run on ice cream and wind and solar and puppy dogs and all of these things. That's what Barbach kind of believes. Anyway, she was in a northern German town of, God, let me see if I remember the name. Ahrensburg, I believe, was the town. It's in northern Germany. She was giving a speech. She actually got heckled. It wasn't a huge turnout, like 1,000 people turned out, but a good amount of people were heckling her, rightly so, because Germany is being deindustrialized in breakneck speed. It's being completely emptied out and gutted, the economy of Germany, and I think this is part of the plan. I think the war is not only against the NATO war, the globalist war is not only against Russia, but it's also focused on Germany. Remember, the mantra is keep America in, with regards to Europe and NATO, keep America in, keep Russia out, and keep Germany down. And so America now is definitely in. They're not going anywhere for the next 100 years as far as Europe goes. Russia's definitely out. There's no more Russia-Europe partnership or cooperation, that's for sure, in the next 10 to 20 years. And we are seeing the keep Germany down, but boy, are they really keeping Germany down. I mean, this has gone beyond keeping Germany down. The goal is to tear Germany apart, to deindustrialize it, and make it into a complete vassal, empty shell of its former self. So Barbach was giving the speech. She was talking about how evil Putin is, how evil Russia is, and how this war needs to continue. She said that Germany needs to send more weapons, as many weapons as they can send, in order to help Elensky fight for all of our freedoms and all of our human rights. So Zelensky is fighting for everybody. And that was Barbach's speech. But after the speech, she gave an interview to Bild. And in that interview, she said that Germany has certain conditions for Russia with regards to the sanctions being lifted. And Barbach's conditions to Russia are as such. Russia needs to withdraw all of its troops from Ukraine, and the ceasefire will not be on the Russian terms. It will be on the collective West terms, on Elensky's terms, on the Biden White House's terms. In other words, in order for sanctions to be lifted, Russia must surrender. And we all know Russian terms, or at least what they were in the beginning of the special military operation. I'm sure they've been amended to include the recognition of the southern corridor of Ukraine, Mariupol, Kherson, etc. But the Russian terms were recognition of Crimea, recognition of Donetsk and Lugansk, and Ukraine being neutral. Now I'm sure the Russians are going to ask for all of those three things, plus the recognition of Mariupol and Kherson as being independent countries, independent nations. But according to Barbach, the way for sanctions to be lifted, perhaps, maybe, it's not even a guarantee, if Russia would like to have sanctions lifted, and if Russia would like to ask the EU, to beg the EU to grovel to Annalena and beg her to please lift those sanctions, then Russia must surrender. Those are her terms. Those are Germany's terms to the Russians. I don't know. What do you guys think? Will Putin accept those terms? Will Lavrov accept those terms? Yeah, I don't think so. But anyway, if you believe the New York Times, if you believe a lot of the reporting with the war that's coming out from the collective West, well, I mean, Elensky is grinding down the Russian military. That's the narrative that we're getting from the collective West. And that is not an exaggeration. Ukraine is grinding down the Russian military. So Barbach is saying, you know what? It looks like Elensky is kicking ass, so I am reaching out to the Russians and telling them to surrender. And those are the West's terms. So that's what's going on with Baerbock. And let's talk about Serbia, and then we'll talk about Pelosi and the clown world. So Serbia, Vučić is coming under big-time pressure to sanction Russia. And he hasn't made any decision yet. He's kind of been sitting on the fence. He had an election, and he ran on the promise, the campaign promise, that Serbia would stand with Russia. He got 58% of the votes. He won a big election. And now he is coming out with statements, or at least it's looking like his administration is coming out with statements saying, you know what, we're under a lot of pressure from the EU, from the Biden White House to start placing sanctions on Russia. And Vučić said that come May 6th, there's going to be some sort of an event in Serbia on May 6th. And Vučić plans to announce what his stance will be vis-a-vis Russia and sanctions. And Vučić said he will talk more about what Serbia is going to do on May 6th, Serbia's position on sanctions. So far, Serbia has stood very, very strong in its position by saying they will not sanction Russia in any way, shape, or form. Russia, of course, is a brotherly nation to Serbia, and I believe the Serbian population is overwhelmingly in support of zero sanctions towards Russia. But Vučić is under pressure, and he's in a tough spot. He's surrounded by NATO, and you've got the Kosovo NATO airbase right there, the illegally occupied Kosovo area with NATO there. And Serbia's it's hard. It's going to be hard, but Vučić, he's going to need to stand strong and not place any sanctions on Russia because, well, I won't say that, not place any sanctions. Here's what I think. Either not place any sanctions on Russia and just be prepared for what the EU and what the US is going to do, because they're going to do something if Vučić takes a zero sanction stance. Or the second option, which is very possible, is Serbia via diplomatic back channels. They speak with the Russians and they tell the Russians, look, Russian diplomats, and they tell the Russians, look, we're coming under pressure. We're going to have to put some sort of sanctions on you guys, even if it's just kind of, just on the surface, token stuff, just to get Ursula and Biden and Nuland and all of these demons off our back. Chris Murphy, the Senator Chris Murphy, this guy's a real piece of work. Chris Murphy was actually in Belgrade, and he was trying to push Serbia to sanction Russia. He's a U.S. Senator. The guy's he's something else. He's the guy from Connecticut, real anti-Trumper, anti-free speech, pro-censorship, pro-war, and he's a Democrat. But he said this when he was visiting Belgrade, Serbia. He said, "We understand Serbia has a long cultural and economic history with Russia, but this is a moment where there is a great risk if we don't send a unified message about the consequences of Russia's behavior in Ukraine." Their behavior. I hate it when they use that word. They always say that about countries that are not towing the collective West line. Orban's behavior, Hungary's behavior, Serbia's behavior, China's behavior, Russia's behavior. Like they're the daddy, and all these countries are like bad little children that need to be spanked. It just shows that they have no respect for Russia. They don't see Russia, and they never will see Russia as a country deserving any type of respect. For them, Russia and every country that has bad behavior needs to become a vassal state. So Murphy added that the U.S. would continue to support Serbia's path to joining the European Union, a journey that likely depends on siding with the West against Moscow. So the carrot is entry into the EU. It doesn't seem like much of a carrot if you ask me. And the stick, well, I think the stick will be problems in Kosovo. That's the stick. So people in Serbia need to be prepared for what could happen if Vučić says no sanctions. But the other option is to speak with Russia and just kind of, put some token sanctions there, and the Russians will understand, and it gets some pressure off of Vučić, and that'll be that. So that's another possibility. But I'm very, very confident that if Vučić does place some sort of sanctions on Russia, then he would have already spoken with the Kremlin, and they would have already agreed to how to put the sanctions, and Russia will understand what's going on. And it's going to come with Russia's blessing. Let me just put it that way. If there are sanctions that are placed on Russia, it's going to be done with Russia's blessing and coordination, so that some heat can be removed from Serbia. That's what I think would happen there. So let's talk about Clown World and Nancy Pelosi. So Pelosi visited Kiev. Everyone's visited Kiev. Why not? So she was in Kiev, and well, here's a clear phone booth. There you go. No green phone booth there. A clear Cypriot phone booth. But let me rest right here real quick. Fix the 1 second. Just fix the camera a bit. All right. So Pelosi was in Kiev, and she was there with Adam Schiff. She was there with, let me get through the list. 1 sec. Adam Schiff. She was there with Jim McGovern of Massachusetts. He chairs the House Rules Committee. Jason Crow of Colorado. Barbara Lee of California. And Bill Keating of Massachusetts. And they saw Zelensky in Kiev, or who knows, maybe they all flew to Poland. And then they all went with Zelensky together to Kiev. Who the hell knows? But there's video, there's photos. There's no doubt they were in Kiev. Pelosi said, "Our delegation traveled to Kiev to send an unmistakable and resounding message to the entire world. America stands firmly with Ukraine." That's what Pelosi said. Zelensky then said, "We'll win, and we'll win together." Those were words from Elensky. Pelosi then said to Elensky, "We are here until victory is won." It's kind of, does that make any sense? We are here until victory is won? Doesn't victory kind of imply that you've won? I don't know. Anyway, Pelosi told Elensky, "We believe that we are visiting you to say thank you for your fight for freedom." So the United States is actually going to Elensky, and they're bowing down to say thank you to Elensky. "Thank you, King Lord of the world, Elensky. Americans are indebted to you forever. Here's 33 billion. And more is coming. We are on the frontier of freedom, and your fight is a fight for everyone. Our commitment is to be there for you until the fight is done," Pelosi added. The visit was previously unannounced, so there was no indication that this was going to happen, so that's interesting. And after Kiev, this delegation, including Adam Schiff, which to me raises a lot of red flags, a lot of alarm bells, should go off when Pelosi and Schiff are scheming together. But they're going to go to Poland after this. They are going to go to Poland they're saying they're going to go there to coordinate with the Polish authorities. Then they're going to go to Warsaw to meet with Duda, the president of Poland. And they're going to discuss the growing refugee crisis, which I think is just cover for them discussing perhaps a military incursion into the West. I don't know. I really don't know. Are these representatives going to Poland to see if this is really feasible for Poland to enter Ukraine and to take over parts of Ukraine? I don't know, but it's very interesting that this trip is taking place. It's very interesting that they're going to Kiev. Okay, they're going to get their photo ops. They're going to do their PR there. But then they're going to go to Poland, and they're going to meet with military who's planning various things, and then they're going to go to Warsaw to meet with the higher ups. Very interesting. Adam Schiff said this is a struggle of freedom against tyranny, and in that struggle, Ukraine is on the front lines. Adam Schiff is he's been sponsored by Ukraine. The Ukrainian lobby in the U.S. is either the most powerful or the second most powerful. I think it's actually the most powerful lobby in the U.S. at this point. I mean, they've poured a lot of money into funding the Democrats, including Hillary Clinton. They were very, very much behind Hillary Clinton in 2016. So, you know, Ukraine, they love their Pelosi's, they love their Schiffs, their shifty Schiffs. And yeah, that's Clown World. Pelosi to Kiev, Adam Schiff to Kiev, and then off to Poland to do God knows what. So my morning video, I talked about Jolie. Maria Zacharova talks about Jolie. And in my morning video, I talked about Poland and the possible second front opening up in the west of Ukraine. Though I said I was doubtful, but I don't know. I don't know. After this trip, after Pelosi and Schiff making their way to Kiev and then Poland, it could be a sign of things to come. Who knows? I'm very suspicious. What do you guys think? What do you think is the purpose of this trip for Pelosi? Do you think it's PR points, or do you think there's something more there? Let me know in the comments down below. And I think I'm going to wrap up this video right here as I'm walking through the streets of downtown Limassol. I'm a little away from the beach, but yeah, I'll leave it there. TheDuran.locals.com, everybody. Check out Alexander's channel. Check out the Duran's channel. And it's very, very rare in Cyprus for people to be video blogging. Very rare. So whenever I walk around, a lot of people are always staring. Makes me kind of nervous, but that's all right. No worries. All right, let's leave it there. Till next time, take care.